وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية سيدي ومولاي علي بن أبي طالب والحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. In the name of God, the most beneficent, the most merciful, we ask Allah to send His greatest peace and blessings upon Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We praise Allah for all the blessings He has given us, and the greatest blessing being that He allowed us to be of the ones who remain steadfast, dedicated, and loyal on the path of our Master after the Prophet, the commander of the faithful, the prince of the believers, the protector of the Prophet and his message, Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. We praise Allah for this blessing and every blessing, for without Allah we would have nothing. Assalamu alaikum, my dear respected brothers, my dear respected sisters, wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, in the chapter of Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, chapter 47, verse 7. He says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, in tansurullah yansurkum, wa yuthabbit aqdamakum. O you who believe, if you stand for God, He will support you, and He will make you steadfast. He will make your steps firm. What's beautiful about this verse is that it's in the chapter that's dedicated in the name of our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi. This idea of standing for God, being with God, this direct correlation that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises. He says, if you stand for me, I'm going to support you. I'm going to be there for you. I'm going to aid you. I'm going to make things happen for you. And I'm going to make your steps firm. Has anyone ever had a big exam, a big job interview, a big presentation, something that maybe makes you a little nervous, a little anxious? Anyone had to go for something that made them a little anxious? Raise your hands. Raise your hands. Beautiful. I want you to think about any situation that you've been in, anyone whatsoever, and think about that nervousness, that feeling in your stomach, that feeling like, man, I think I'm going to be sick. Imagine the feeling that Lady Khadija had. Imagine the feeling that she had when she supported our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi against all the odds. Imagine the feeling that Abu Talib had in supporting the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi. Imagine the feeling that the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi had. You and I, we're thinking about an exam, about a job, something that is going to impact our lives. Absolutely. Look at what they had to go through. What did they have to do? You and I, we may not appreciate unless we look at the history, unless we examine the story, unless we hear it and listen closely to it. Who was Khadija? Who was this lady that even before Islam came, she was considered by many the princess of Quraysh? Who was this lady, this woman, who under her hand commanded one of the largest business enterprises and trading companies in all of Arabia? Who was this woman that had hundreds of merchants working under her? Who was she? Who was she that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa alihi خَيْرُ خَلْقِ اللَّهِ. The best of God's creation chose her as his wife, his life partner, and spoke about her like he would speak about no one else. So much so that even a decade after her death, he would still remember her. And people would ask him, Ya Muhammad, Ya Rasulullah, what was so special about Khadija? What was so special about her that to this day you mourn her and you remember her? What was so special about her? Let's talk about Khadija. Lady Khadija alayhi salam, she had this business enterprise and they were doing very well. As anybody has any experience in business, sometimes in business you may be doing well, but then you face a problem. In COVID, for anybody that had a business, probably faced a problem with staffing, right? A shortage of employees. Khadija alayhi salam faced a staffing issue, a shortage of employees, a shortage of agents, of traders, of merchants working in her enterprise. So she was looking for people that could work for her, that she could trust, especially on these trade routes that took many weeks and took a lot of time. The specific area that she was looking for was for trade routes in Syria. And I want you to reflect on this because of actually the history behind the trade routes in Syria. Remember when we spoke about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his father Abdullah, who passed away before the Prophet was born. He was also a merchant, a trader, and he passed away in Syria. All these years later, when the Prophet ﷺ was about the age of 25, so almost now 25 years later, an opportunity comes to work in this great business enterprise and take trade routes in Syria. Lady Khadija alayhi salam goes to Abu Talib. Who does she go to for help, for advice on how to get the right people to work for her? She goes to Abu Talib, the trustworthy. Abu Talib had a great reputation. And he told her, Khadija, I think I have the perfect man for you. I think I have the perfect man for the job. And she said, who? She said, my nephew Muhammad. I raised him. He was brought up in my home. I know him. You will like him. You can trust him. He will honor your business. He will honor your deals. He will bring you a great reputation just like he has a great reputation himself. So the Holy Prophet ﷺ, the age of 25, he joins the enterprise of Khadija alayhi salam. But what does Khadija do? What Khadija does is she hears of the reputation of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. She heard of it. She knows that Muhammad is trustworthy, is honest. His reputation preceded him. And she trusted the recommendation of Abu Talib. But she did something specific. As a prudent businesswoman herself, she said, I'm going to have my aides report on their observations of Muhammad throughout this trip. They had one trip that basically was like a pilot run. And she told them, I'm giving you specific instructions. Watch him throughout the trip and report back to me on what you experience with him. So they go on the trip. It was very successful. All of the deals were closed. All of the trading takes place. The Prophet comes back. The aides come back. And she's sitting down with her aides and she asks them, what did you learn about him? One of them reports and says, this man is like none that we've ever seen before. He only eats when everyone else has eaten. He does not sit unless everyone else has sat. He is generous, he is kind, and he is always truthful. He treats his subordinates with the greatest respect. And he always has a beautiful scent from him. And when he walks, it seems as if there is a cloud following him, always giving him and those around him shade. Lady Khadija alayhi salam found in Prophet Muhammad, through this experience, the perfect person to not only grow her business, but grow her home. So after this experience, Lady Khadija alayhi salam, and in her interactions with Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she sent word with Abu Talib, thanking him, but also telling him that I wish to marry Muhammad. What we found in Lady Khadija and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when Abu Talib comes and he tells Muhammad, he tells our Prophet, the Prophet accepted and saw in Khadija the perfect match and life partner for him. Now I want to share with you, if you remember 2 nights ago, I said that Abu Talib was the one who orchestrated, who facilitated, who brought this together. Not only that, Abu Talib was the one who married Lady Khadija alayhi salam and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I'm going to read for you the words that he shared on their wedding ceremony, just to give you a greater glimpse. Think about it like this: when we have a aqd, a katb kitab, if you will, imagine the katb kitab, the aqd of Lady Khadija and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know, typically we have a sheikh or a sayyid facilitate it. Imagine with me right now, Lady Khadija alayhi salam and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam getting married. And who's facilitating this? Who's welcoming everyone? Who's celebrating this marriage? Abu Talib. Abu Talib says, all praise and glory is to Allah. Abu Talib. All praise and glory is to Allah, the creator of the heavens and the earth. And thanks be to him for all of his blessings, his bounties, and his mercy. He sent us into this world as the heirs of Ibrahim and Ismail. He made us the guardians of his house, which is the sanctuary for all. This is my nephew, Muhammad ibn Abdullah ibn Abdul Muttalib. And he is unmatched in wisdom, intelligence, in purity of lineage, and in family distinction. He has all of the markings of a man who is destined for greatness. He is marrying Khadija bint Khuwaylid, the honorable, the princess of Quraysh. May Allah bless them both and protect them. That was the speech of Abu Talib for the marriage of Lady Khadija and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Full of faith, full of wisdom, full of thanks and praise and glory to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You saw this throughout from the very beginning. And this was truly a match made in heaven. Because what would come forward from the house of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Khadija alayhi salam? What would come forward was the beautiful lineage that carried the name and the message and the revelation from our holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam through Lady Fatima al-Zahra alayha salam. The relationship with Khadija was not only special because the lineage of Muhammad came through Khadija alayhi salam with Our Lady Fatima alayhi salam, but I want you to listen closely to what the Prophet said. I began with, some people questioned him, including some of his wives later on in his life. Questioned him, why do you keep remembering this lady Khadija? Why was she so special? He would reply and he would say, I was invigorated by her love. Imagine Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I want you, as much as I may invoke some passion in my voice when I'm speaking, I want you for yourself to think as you hear these words. Think of our holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's no one in all of creation from the beginning of time to the end of time more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I want you to think to yourself, when Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam Khayru khalqillah, says, I was invigorated by her love. He was empowered by the love of Khadija. He says, she was there for me when no one else was there for me. She believed in me when no one else believed in me. She accepted Islam when everyone rejected me. She helped me when no one else would give me a lending hand. And Allah blessed me with children that survived only through Khadija. That's why she was so special. Khadija manifested the principle of supporting in the way of Allah. She was the first person to say after Muhammad, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. The power of this shahada, brothers and sisters, sometimes we don't realize, we take for granted what we have. The power of saying, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. As followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, we need to see the beautiful blessing that we exist in. And that is being under the grace of Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad, having this emphasis on Ali ibn Abi Talib, this emphasis on Fatima al-Zahra, this emphasis on Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. What does it do? It gives you clarity onto the greatness of Muhammad. عظمة Muhammad, the greatness of this prophet, this man who was the most beloved to God, because ultimately it all goes back to God. Who here is a lover of Ali ibn Abi Talib? Oh, raise your hands, raise two hands. If I had more than two, I'd raise them. Ya Ali ibn Abi Talib. Do you know what Ali ibn Abi Talib, Amir al-Mu'mineen, there is no one who surpasses Ali in virtue but Rasulullah. Do you know what Ali ibn Abi Talib said about this Prophet Muhammad? About his master Muhammad? When Ali was praised as greater than any other man, they asked him, "Oh Ali, and what's your status with Muhammad? How do you compare to Muhammad?" He said, "Ana abdun min abidi Muhammad." I am a servant from the servants of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Know that you, as a follower of Ahlul Bayt, as a Shi'i, you are in love, obsessed with Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ahlul Bayt Rasulillah. Ahlul Bayt is what? A reference point, a pointer, a gateway. أنا مدينة العلم وعلي بابها. I am the city of knowledge and Ali is its gate. We have the honor and blessing of identifying the gate to get to where? The city. The city. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alih. This Ali, this Khadija, they were ones who stood for Allah, stood for His Prophet, and Allah honored them, Allah gave them, Allah blessed them, and made their feet firm, steps firm in His way, so that the young Ali ibn Abi Talib, remember in these days, the first one to believe in Rasulullah was his wife Khadija, his beloved Khadija, his supporter Khadija alayha salam. The next was Ali ibn Abi Talib, a young man who would repeat saying, "I am for you, Ya Rasulullah. Everything I have is for you, Ya Rasulullah." Every opportunity that Ali ibn Abi Talib had, he gave it so that he could show honor and service to the Prophet for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now you and I, brothers and sisters, how do we take all of this? How do we bring it forward? If you, in hearing the story of Khadija alayhi salam, if you, in hearing some of these glimpses of the Prophet's life, if your heart is moved a little bit, if your mind is moved a little bit with a little bit of reflection, oh wow, I didn't realize this. Or your heart fluttered a little bit with hearing about the Prophet and how he described his wife. Take that emotion, take that thought and build on it. Continue further. Read more. Delve deeper. Don't just let it be a moment that passed. That was nice. That's a nice story. Good night. No. Move forward. Build on it. Keep going. Then the verses of the Holy Quran that are recited tonight, keep building on it. Why? You and I, if we want to see a collective change in our society, in our community, a movement for betterment, in any which way that we wish to see it, it has to start with you and me individually by ourselves. See this gathering right here? This beautiful gathering of believers coming together? Amazing. I love it. We all love it. But guess what? You and I are responsible for ourselves. I'm going to my own grave. I'm not taking anyone with me. Not my wife, not my beautiful children, not my beautiful family and friends here. Each and every one of us is responsible for themselves. That was basically like you're out of time. Like my sleeves are talking to me, all right? Each and every one of us is responsible for themselves. So in these reflections, in these nights, I want us as much as possible to take that, what are you doing for yourself? The opportunity of coming together, let that help you in your journey. It may sound selfish. If you want to be selfish with anything, don't be selfish in what? Not showing appreciation, respect, and reciprocity with other people. Don't be selfish in that. Show appreciation, show respect, honor other people. But be selfish in your own personal growth and development and dedicating time and energy and resources so that you move. These aren't stories for entertainment. The Holy Quran is not merely a spiritual book. It's a book of reality for you to acknowledge your purpose in life and become closer to that purpose. So brothers and sisters, inshallah, through the memory of Lady Khadija alayhi salam, whom tomorrow night, inshallah, we'll conclude in this 5-night series, and then inshallah we'll continue with Sayyid Haidar Bahr al-Ulum, who as our mentor and our teacher, the one we benefit from. We're going to be continuing in these lessons on a nightly basis. And then inshallah we're going to go back into the history once again. But tomorrow night we'll continue with Lady Khadija alayhi salam. Thank you all for listening attentively and making this an active session of reflection, inshallah. The last of our prayers, and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, wa afdal as-salat wa taslim ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala ali baytihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin.